20 years ago, my husband and I solemnly vowed to have and to hold, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. Many of you did as well, didn't you? Well, the Yorkton, Saskatchewan couple you're about to meet were called to keep that promise through a life-threatening battle with West Nile virus. Rick Gibson was serving as a pastor of the Nazarene Church. He was also president of the Yorkton Ministerial when he was hospitalized for 6 months. Rick was experienced in dealing with people's tragedies. Now he was engulfed in a crisis of his own that would require him to relearn everything, sitting, standing, even rolling over in bed. His wife Kathleen, a well-known author in that area, recorded the unexpected life lessons and blessings in her book, West Nile Diary, One Couple's Triumph Over a Deadly Disease.
The mosquito, it brought such devastation that with the encephalitis, it was difficult to have any lights, the sound. I couldn't handle sound at all. If 2 or 3 people were in the room talking, my brain would shut down. The meningitis part, it's caused central nervous system damage throughout my body. And the poliomyelitis has made me what's called a triplegic. Paralysis in 3 of my limbs, and it's not fully returned. I've lost the ability to do a lot of things.
I've never heard that term before, triplegic.
It was a new term for me. I had heard of paraplegic and quadriplegic, but there's the triplegic, meaning that 3 of the quadrants of the body have been affected.
I wanted it to end, and yet something very special happened. I was living at the hospital at that time. I had left home, left all my responsibilities, taken my computer, of course, because that was my business, and so we were surrounded. It was like we were in a different planet suddenly, and we were surrounded by disability, but God moved in with us into that place, and it was such an exceptional 6 months of experiencing His suffering, in a sense, and being surrounded by those He loved, the disabled, the people who really had to lean on Him for their strength in many ways, and even though they didn't realize it, He was sustaining them. Being together with my husband in that way, because we were so busy, both of us, prior to that point, we hadn't had a lot of time for each other. We certainly had time now. I got into the Word like I hadn't for a very long time. Our Bibles became our closest companions other than the Lord and each other. And so it was though we were being floated on prayer and the Word, and I knew that once we got home, that couldn't last. Life would intrude. And so I was already regretting, in a strange sense, I was regretting the ending and yet looking forward to it. It was a weird.
The question of why, God, why is this happening to me? You know, Jim, I've never asked that question. Even to this day, I've not asked it. The question that I remember asking was lying there in bed and saying, Lord, if you have called me to be a pastor or a minister, and I know you have, how in the world are you going to get any glory if all I can do is wave this arm around? And it actually helped me to start saying, okay, what is God doing here? I know He's with me. And so now we started looking for, what is God doing? How is He revealing Himself to us? And how is He helping not only us through this experience, but the people who we came in contact with? Others with disabilities and those who are handicapped, and learning to help them look to see what God is doing.
This is not a fair question to both of you. I'm going to ask it anyway because I know a lot of my viewers want to ask it. If you could go back 2 years and avoid this whole thing, would you?
No. I've been asked that question.
You didn't even take a
times.
breath. You just said no.
No.
Really?
Really.
Why?
Really. Because what God has been doing and what we have seen God do is far greater than what I saw God doing or experiencing when I was healthy and whole. And I say that if God is getting more glory because of my disability right now, then glory to Him.
Doesn't Rick remind you a little bit of Burl Ives? When life puts the brakes on, look for God in the driver's seat. You know, some of you have already received this week our November Compass magazine and are expressing sympathy for the passing of my mother-in-law. Ruth Brown is still here. We can't explain it. The oxygen level has been unreadable in her blood since the middle of August. But she is still holding on, and only God knows all the reasons why. He has planned for every day he gives us on this earth, and he says, those who hope in me will not be disappointed. Honorable mention goes to this couple's wonderful community of Yorkton, Saskatchewan. You know, so much love and prayer surrounded the Gibsons. A benefit was held. A house was provided for them after they left the parsonage. God bless all of you. And thank you, Crossroads family members, for helping us to bring these encouraging stories to people who need to know that God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all we dare to ask or imagine. If you're not standing with us, will you call now and pledge your support of a program that has been a reliable hug from heaven daily for 32 years?